Assalamu alaikum, my name is Fadwa Wazwaz and I'm doing a video today on egoism and conformity. I believe I have a chapter in my book in chapter 1 and I discussed that, but I wanted to do a separate video just on this particular topic and just expand a little bit on it. Let me share a PowerPoint, it's a few slides only, and share it with you as I review this information. This really has to do in response to quite a few individuals that I have gotten into a discussion with or listened to their responses, and I felt that it appeared they have an ego problem. And they were not really able to recognize it, it seems. And it's possibly because the people around them are all praising them and telling them what they want to hear instead of what they needed to hear. Now, I want to begin by a particular saying by Imam Isha'ar, and you probably heard me refer to this many times. Love who you want, hate who you want, do not oppress anyone. Why I like this particular phrase is I think that it can help to bring us back and center conversations based on boundaries, rights, responsibilities, instead of who I love, who I hate, do I love myself, do I hate myself, does this person love me, does so-and-so love so-and-so. And, you know, we're going into like distractions and conversations that have absolutely no value or benefit, but we continually take ourselves all over the board and we're giving endless, if you will, unsolicited advice. It's more applicable to the person giving the advice and probably reflects their circumstances than it does the person that's they're giving the advice to. So I want to also continue to take this, I'm going to refer to it over and over again. And let's proceed to a supplication by Prophet Muhammad, upon him peace and blessings. It says, I will just read it in Arabic and then I will translate it. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, برحمتك أستغيث ومن عذابك أستجير أصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي ولا إلى أحد من خلقك طرفة عين. So that's why I chose the title, Between Egoism and Conformity. Now, trying to get something here to work, and give me just, I think this is how I do it. Yeah. So if you look at it, the particular supplication is calling us to seek God's mercy. I didn't translate, I apologize. O living, O sustainer, I call upon your mercy for assistance, and from your punishment I seek refuge. Make good all my affairs, and do not entrust me to myself or any of your creation, even for a blink of an eye. So if we look at it here, do not entrust me to myself, which is egoism right here. I'll just say it on here. Or any of your creation, conformity right here. So that's why I like this particular dua. So between egoism and conformity, you're asking for what? You're asking God for his mercy and to protect you, and you're asking for his assistance, that you do not fall, you do not trust yourself, like you do not allow the ego to gain power over you. Do not entrust me to my ego, myself, or any of your creation, to the crowd, if you will, even for the blink of an eye. And it's not just, you know, even for the blink of an eye. So the idea is to continually always be turning to God. You're not supposed to be obsessed with whether you love yourself, whether you hate yourself, whether so-and-so loves you or you love so-and-so, because those are really irrelevant matters. They don't really benefit you in any way, and they don't really like help you to solve problems. A lot of times when we're into problem solving, or trying to come up with solutions, people will start throwing do you love yourself? Do you hate yourself? It's like, I don't really think I've ever had a moment in my life where I sat down and I said, Fadwa, do you love yourself? Do you hate yourself? It's just, I'm not even going to go there. What's the point of that conversation that I need to have? What benefit do I have for myself? If we go back to Imam Sharawi, just stop this. If we go back to Imam Sharawi's phrase, love who you want, hate who you want, do not oppress anyone. So let's just start with the ego. Love yourself or hate yourself, do not oppress yourself. It's just right there. It makes perfect sense. If you love yourself or you hate yourself, just don't oppress yourself is a more. When you're talking about don't oppress yourself, then you're going to be thinking about what? You're not going to be thinking about feelings. You're going to be thinking about the rights that yourself has upon you. You're going to be exploring that and researching that and making sure you fulfill that. Whether it is health, whether it is spiritual, whether it is emotional health, whether it is mental health, you're going to be exploring about how not to oppress yourself. Do you love yourself? Do you hate yourself? Those are really irrelevant matters. You don't want to sit here be exploring if you love or you hate yourself, because it's really irrelevant. You want to be researching and focusing on what are the rights you have or yourself has from you. What rights do you have? Eating healthy, prayer is a spiritual, for example, nourishment, mental health. You have to also take care of yourself, emotional health. So love yourself, hate yourself. That's just kind of egoism. That's all it is. And you'll always hear it by people who tend to be struggling with egoism, and because they're surrounded by people who just tell them what they want to hear, not people who tell them what they need to hear, they're, if you will, deluded. So if we go back then again to the supplication by Prophet Muhammad, upon him peace and blessings, now let's look at the last, where is your creation. I can just do this here. Again, now we're focusing on here, right here. So now let's look about conformity. Let's just say that people love you or they don't love you. I just want to share with you something that, because there are like gifts that certain individuals have in society that they give us a certain type of wisdom that we need to reflect on. And it's it's kind of like what Carl Jung says, what people express most loudly, the inverse is true. So I discussed that from yourself, the egoism, whether you love yourself or you hate yourself. But let's look at this small short video, it's only less than a minute, regarding, if you will, people. And this is a kid with autism, and he's recognizing something very peculiar about his sister. I'm just trying to, I did the right moment, just give me one sec. So, Amy loved Claudia, then she hated Claudia, then she loved Claudia, then she hated Claudia. And that's how people are. That if you really rely on their love, it fluctuates. It's never like they love you every day, every time, and you always can really trust them. One day they love you, the next day they don't love you, then they love you again, then they don't love you. It's the same thing with the self-hate, self-love card. One day you love yourself, then you hate yourself, then you love yourself, then you hate yourself. And people are the same way. One day they love you, one day they hate you, then they love you again, then they hate you again. And the dua really teaches us about this peculiar mentality of human beings. It's just How many times have we seen someone become so famous, and the next thing you know, everybody's like, claiming he's the worst of the worst. Yet they had all these opportunities to speak with them, and they never really spoke with them. So this dua really helps us to reflect on the nature of things, whether it's yourself or others, not to really worry about if you love yourself, if you hate yourself, if others love you, if others hate you, because those things are not important. What is important, as Imam Shafi'i has said, is you don't oppress anyone. That is yourself or others. That is the important thing. And in order to do that, you need to turn to God, and you need to ask for His mercy and His assistance and refuge from His punishment, protection from His punishment. Because if you go in that direction or that direction, you're going to be punished. You oppress yourself or you oppress others. To make good all your affairs and not to leave you, even for the blink of an eye, to your ego, to entrust you to yourself or any of your creation. You want to place your trust where? You want to place your trust continuously, perpetuously with God. You don't want for a blink of an eye to trust your nafs or your ego, or to trust others. Because like that video shows, one day Amy loves Claudia, then Amy hates Claudia, then she loves Claudia, then she hates Claudia. And it's the same thing with the the self-love, self-hate movement. One day they love themselves, then they hate themselves, then they love themselves again, then they hate themselves again. It's like, is that really a good usage of our time? Is it really beneficial? A more beneficial use of our time is, what are the rights that myself has towards me? What are the rights of others upon me? Am I fulfilling those rights? What are the boundaries between me and others? Excuse me, I'm getting something in my eye. What are the rights that others have? What are the boundaries that protect others from me? What are the boundaries that protect me from others? And to ensure that we focus not on the who loves who, but focus on not oppressing anyone. Because and the nature of the world is that the person you love, whether it's yourself or others, you're not going to love that person every time. And you're not going to love that person every day. But if you focus on not oppressing yourself and others, when you love yourself, or you hate yourself, or you love others, or you hate others, you stay focused on and centered on what God is going to ask and require of you. So I hope this was beneficial. And like I said, I just wanted to make it short and sweet, between egoism and conformity. And I hope that those who believe in this self-love, self-hate, and movement can take some time and to reflect about the benefit that this has for themselves. And would it be much more beneficial to figure out, am I oppressing myself? Am I oppressing others? And to continue to keep our mind focused and centered on those type of questions going forward. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.